So what's happened here for people that can't see is you poured a little bit of whiskey into one end of the scale, the pleasure side of the scale, and the other side of the scale has risen because now there's whiskey in the pleasure side, which I guess has released dopamine.
Exactly. So
Okay,
now
so
we've
dopamine's been
released
released.
dopamine in the reward pathway. Okay.
Because the pain side went up, does that mean
Yeah.
there's now less pain in the brain?
Well, I think, again, this is a metaphor.
Sure.
It's an oversimplification. The idea here is just when we press on the pleasure side, we're releasing dopamine in the reward pathway and experiencing pleasure. Okay. But no sooner has that happened than our brain will try to compensate or adapt to increase dopamine firing by downregulating dopamine transmission, for example, by involuting postsynaptic dopamine receptors.
What does that mean?
Okay. So our brain is a bunch of wires, that conduct these electrical signals. And these long spindly cells are called neurons. And the thing about neurons is that they don't actually touch end to end. There's a little gap or space between them, and that gap is called the synapse. And that gap or synapse is bridged by what we call neurotransmitters. And dopamine is one of those neurotransmitters, okay? And when the presynaptic neuron pulses and releases dopamine, it crosses the synapse and binds to a receptor on the postsynaptic neuron, which either continues or aborts that electrical signal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the ways that our brain can decrease the effects of dopamine, decrease dopamine transmission, is by involuting or taking inside the neuron the postsynaptic receptor. That way, when dopamine is released, it has nowhere to bind.
Oh, okay. So it's like removing the docking station.
Exactly.
Okay.
Very good. It's removing the docking station. So essentially, getting back to our scale, we've ingested alcohol, we've increased dopamine firing in the reward pathway. But remember, our pleasure-pain balance wants to return to a level position, level with the ground, homeostasis. So it's going to decrease dopamine transmission by, for example, involuting those postsynaptic dopamine receptors. But one thing about the brain in its process of trying to get back to homeostasis, and again, I like to think of this neuroadaptation process as these gremlins hopping on the pain side of the balance to bring it level again. You don't have gremlins here, you have these little rocks, but let's go ahead and put a rock on the pain side of the balance. And these rocks are our friends, right? Their job is to level the balance, because remember, we got to go back to homeostasis. So I'm going to put a rock on, and you're going to see, oh my gosh, it overshot, right? I've got it pressed down on the pain side of the balance. But that's exactly what happens in our brains. In this process of neuroadaptation, those gremlins hopping on the pain side of the balance don't get off as soon as the balance is level. They stay on until we're tilted. And